plan. There was a time I looked into the mirror and didn't recognize the person staring back, plan. Not because of how I looked, but because of how I felt. I was shrinking into someone I didn't choose to become, plan. I was living small, apologizing for my presence, doubting my worth every single day. And then one morning, plan, something inside me whispered, not loudly, not with force, but with clarity. You don't have to stay here. You can grow, plan, you can change. You can rebuild yourself, not from perfection, but from intention, plan. Improving your personality and confidence isn't about being liked by the world, plan. It's about liking yourself enough to walk through the world without fear of judgment, plan. It's about choosing to become the person your younger self prayed you'd become. It's a daily process. It's slow, plan. It's silent, but it is powerful. Here are 7 powerful reminders, daily tips, not for pretending to be confident, plan, but for becoming confident. Not for polishing your personality to please others, but for shaping it to reflect who you truly are, plan. There is a voice inside each of us that speaks long before we utter a word out loud, plan. That voice becomes the rhythm of our self-worth. And for many of us, that voice has been shaped by years of criticism, failure, plan, rejection, and silence, plan. We've been taught to aim high, but we were never taught how to be gentle with ourselves when we fall short, plan. Before we even begin to build confidence, we must first confront the quiet war we wage within ourselves every single day, plan. If you called a friend worthless, weak, or ugly, they'd walk away. Yet we say these things to ourselves again and again, plan, and expect strength to bloom from the soil of shame. But strength doesn't grow from cruelty. It grows from compassion, plan. It grows when you start treating yourself not like a project to fix, but a person to love, plan. The mirror does not lie, but our inner critic often does, plan. The way we speak to ourselves can either become the brick that builds us or the weight that breaks us, plan. Changing your inner dialogue doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect, plan. It means recognizing your flaws without letting them define your identity. It means saying, plan, I failed today, instead of I am a failure. It means reminding yourself that progress is enough, plan. That showing up is enough, that healing is not linear. Confidence is not a performance. It is a relationship with your own voice, plan. Speak to yourself the way you would speak to a friend who's trying, because you are trying. And that deserves kindness, plan. Speak kind words, even when they feel foreign, especially then. Whisper them to yourself in the dark. Write them on sticky notes, plan. Say them aloud when no one is watching. Let your soul become familiar with love that doesn't need to be earned, plan. That's where transformation begins. Not from outside applause, but from the tender honesty within, plan. That is where real confidence takes root. Confidence doesn't always come from words. Sometimes, plan, it begins in silence, with the way you hold your gaze, the way you stand, and the energy you bring into a room, plan. We often forget that the body speaks long before the mouth does. And for many of us who have lived in doubt, shame, or invisibility, plan, our posture becomes a mirror of our inner battles. Slouched shoulders, downward glances, plan. Arms crossed tightly, not because we're rude or uninterested, but because we're protecting something fragile inside, plan. But when you begin to lift your head, even slightly, plan. When you meet someone's eyes, not to challenge them, but to truly connect, you start reclaiming space. You begin to tell the world, plan, I am here and I matter. Eye contact is not about dominance. It's about presence, plan. It's the silent language of truth and confidence. When you look someone in the eye, you're not just seen. You're heard, plan, without saying a single word. You are saying, I'm not afraid to be known. Open body language is a daily choice, plan. It's not about faking power. It's about allowing your body to mirror the strength you're beginning to feel inside. Stand tall. Plan even if you feel small. Uncross your arms even if vulnerability scares you. Relax your face even if you're holding pain. Plan. These are quiet acts of bravery. They are reminders to your mind that you are safe, that you are growing. Plan. That you are stepping into your light, slowly, intentionally, powerfully. Every time you open your posture, instead of closing it, plan. You are declaring that you deserve to be seen. Not just by others, but by yourself. Plan. When you walk into a room with soft strength in your stance and warmth in your eyes, you change the energy. Plan. You become someone who doesn't demand attention, but attracts it through authenticity. Plan. And that is the kind of presence no amount of surface charm can ever replace. Plan. We live in a world where speaking loudly is often mistaken for power, and silence is mistaken for weakness. Plan. But there is a rare and quiet strength in learning how to truly listen, not just to words, but to emotions, to pauses. Plan. To the things left unsaid. Listening is not about waiting for your turn to speak. Plan. It is about holding space for another soul to be seen, heard, and understood. And when you learn to do that, plan, you don't just improve your relationships, you elevate your presence. Many people speak to impress. Plan. But those who listen with care leave an imprint on the heart. Plan. Your personality isn't only shaped by what you share, it's also reflected in what you receive. Listening teaches you empathy. Plan. It humbles your assumptions. It allows you to connect with people beyond surface level. In a world filled with noise, plan. A quiet ear is a gift. When someone speaks and they see you fully present, not distracted, plan, not rehearsing your reply, they feel valued. And that is a rare kind of magic. Listening is also a way to grow. Plan. When you listen more, you learn more. You open yourself to wisdom from places you never expected. Plan. You begin to see the world through other eyes. And sometimes, in hearing someone else's pain, you find healing for your own. Plan. Sometimes, in understanding their journey, you begin to feel less alone in yours. Plan. The art of listening is the art of being human. It is where connection begins and ego ends. Plan. Make space in your day to simply listen. To people, to nature, to your inner voice. When you slow down enough to hear, plan, you start noticing the things that truly matter. You stop performing and start connecting. You stop trying to prove yourself, plan, and start learning who you really are. And in that stillness, your confidence grows, not because of what you said, plan, but because of what you finally allowed yourself to feel. You become a reflection of the people you allow into your space. Plan. Their energy, their words, their beliefs slowly seep into your thoughts and shape the way you see yourself. Plan. That is why it is not just important. It is essential to be intentional about who stands beside you as you walk through life. Plan. Uplifting people do not need to fix you. They just remind you that you were never broken. Plan. They are the kind of souls who celebrate your light and sit with you in your darkness without judgment. Plan. But the right people are not only kind, they are honest. They do not flatter you with false comfort. Plan. They challenge you with gentle truth. They are the ones who tell you when you're settling. Plan. Who remind you of your worth when you've forgotten it, and who nudge you forward when you're stuck in fear. They are not perfect. Plan. But they are present. They may not always agree with you, but they never stop believing in you. In a world of noise and performance, plan. Their sincerity becomes your grounding force. Sometimes we stay in draining circles out of loyalty or fear. Plan. We shrink ourselves to fit the comfort of others. But growth demands space, and healing requires safety. Plan. You cannot bloom fully in an environment that constantly questions your worth. Plan. Choosing to walk away from those who dim your light is not cruel. It is courageous. Plan. Because your future depends not just on what you do, but on who walks with you while you do it. Plan. When you surround yourself with people who genuinely want to see you rise, plan. Life becomes less about proving yourself and more about discovering yourself. Plan. They remind you that you don't have to walk through your journey alone. They reflect back the beauty you forget to see in yourself. Plan. And slowly their belief in you becomes your belief in you. Plan. That is the quiet power of the right people. They don't just change your days, they change your destiny. For many of us, plan. Receiving a compliment feels like holding a gift we don't think we deserve. We brush it off, deflect it with a joke. Plan. Or rush to give one back as if we're ashamed of being seen. Somewhere along the way, we were taught that humility means shrinking. Plan. That modesty means silence. But there is nothing noble in denying your worth. When someone offers you a kind word, plan. They are not inflating your ego. They are simply holding up a mirror to a truth you've forgotten. Plan. To accept a compliment is not arrogance. It's acknowledgement. Plan. It's letting someone's kindness reach the part of you that is still healing. When you say thank you, without discomfort, plan, you are allowing love in. You are allowing the effort you've made, the growth you've earned, plan, and the light you carry to be recognized. And you are showing others that it's safe to celebrate each other, plan. That confidence is not competition. That beauty, strength, and talent are not things to be hidden. They are things to be shared, plan. There is a quiet strength in simply saying, thank you, and believing it, not explaining it away, not turning it into a joke. Plan. Just receiving it with open hands and an open heart. Because you are not less for being appreciated. Plan. You are not selfish for being seen. You are not unworthy of admiration just because you still have scars. Plan. You are both a work in progress and a masterpiece. And both deserve to be honored. Plan. Learning to accept compliments is about more than words. It's about learning to receive love without apology. Plan. It's about teaching your heart that you don't have to earn every smile, prove every talent, or justify every kind word. It's about letting goodness in, not because you're perfect, but because you're human. Plan. And humans deserve grace. Not just from others, but from themselves. So often, we wait for the grand moments to allow ourselves joy. Plan. We wait for the job title, the perfect body, the big recognition. And in doing so, plan. We miss the quiet miracles that unfold in the everyday. Waking up on a hard day. Plan. Speaking kindly to yourself after years of self-doubt. Showing up when no one's watching. These may seem small on the outside. Plan. But inside your soul, they are earthquakes of growth. They are proof that you are healing, rising, becoming. Plan. Celebrating the small wins is not about exaggerating progress. It's about honoring effort. Plan. It's about looking at the version of yourself that once struggled to move and now chooses to rise, even if only slightly. Plan. Every step forward deserves to be noticed because sometimes, plan, it takes more strength to get out of bed with a heavy heart than it does to run a mile with a light one. And sometimes, plan. Smiling through the pain is braver than any public applause. When you begin to celebrate the little things, plan. You start rewiring your mind to find light even in the shadows, plan. You start realizing that your journey is not measured only by outcomes, but by the courage it takes to keep going, plan. Every task completed, every fear faced, every boundary set is a form of victory. And by acknowledging these moments, plan, you build a life rooted not in perfection, but in progress. Let your soul dance at the little wins. Let your heart whisper, plan. Well done, even when no one else does, because you know what it took to get here. You know the storms you've weathered, plan. The silence you've survived, the doubts you've silenced just to take that one step, plan. Don't wait for the world to celebrate you. Celebrate yourself. In that small celebration plan, you give yourself the permission to keep growing one moment at a time. There's a voice inside you, not the one the world hears, plan, but the one that speaks when you're alone. The voice that comments on your reflection in the mirror, plan, that whispers in moments of failure, that questions your worth when you fall short. And so often, plan, that voice is crueler than any critic could ever be. We offer compassion to strangers, forgiveness to friends, plan. But when it comes to ourselves, we become relentless judges. Harsh, unforgiving, unkind, that needs to change, not someday, plan. But now, you would never speak to someone you love the way you speak to yourself in your worst moments, plan. You would never call them a failure for trying. You would never shame them for being afraid or broken or slow, plan. So why carry that cruelty inward? Why let the most permanent voice in your life become your greatest enemy, plan? Kindness isn't just something you extend outward. It's a discipline you must practice within, plan. Because you are the one you spend every moment with. You are the home you return to every night, plan. When you learn to speak gently to yourself, something beautiful happens. Your inner world becomes a safer place to grow, plan. You begin to take risks without the fear of your own judgment. You begin to fail without falling into self-hate. And slowly, plan, you begin to heal, not because the world outside has changed, but because the voice inside has, plan. The kindness you give yourself becomes a soft cushion beneath every hard day, a reminder that you are not alone, plan, even in your own thoughts. So whisper grace to the parts of you still learning, plan. Say, I'm proud of you, even when no one else does. Speak to your fears as you would to a frightened child, plan. Remind yourself that struggling does not make you unworthy, that imperfection does not make you unlovable, plan. Because when your inner voice becomes your ally, you stop waiting for external validation, plan. You start becoming whole just by being kinder to the person you've always been with yourself, plan. We often search for confidence in loud moments, in applause, in validation. But true confidence doesn't shout, plan. It doesn't need a spotlight. It is quiet, it is gentle, and it is deeply rooted in how you see yourself when no one is looking, plan. Improving your personality isn't about becoming someone else. It's about returning to who you were before the world told you who to be, plan. You don't need to be perfect to be powerful. You don't need to have it all figured out to be worthy of love, respect, plan, or belonging. What you need is the courage to show up for yourself a little more each day, plan. Through the smallest acts of self-kindness, through the courage to speak gently to yourself, to celebrate your wins, plan, and to keep growing even when no one notices. That's where transformation lives, plan. This journey isn't about changing into someone new. It's about uncovering the strength, beauty, plan, and light that's always been within you, buried beneath doubt, fear, and the stories you've outgrown. You are not too late, plan, not too broken, not too far behind. You are exactly where your healing begins. So rise, not with noise, but with purpose, plan. Walk gently, but walk forward. And remember your voice, your kindness, your growth. They are enough. You are enough.